Hey guys, welcome to Mad Scientist BBQ. Today we're doing something I don't do all that often. Today we're cooking fish, but we're not cooking just any fish, we're cooking salmon, my absolute favorite fish on the entire planet. And I gotta tell you, my wife has a killer recipe to cook salmon in the oven. So I thought I need a great way to cook salmon with a fire, because that's just what I do, I cook food with fire. And this one is the method that I found that I absolutely love the best. I stole this from somebody who stole it from somebody who stole it from somebody else. But the way I came by it is Eric Rowley at the Barbecue HQ did this as a demo one time, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I think he got it from Chef Eric Gephardt, who works with Kamado Joe, and it is just an absolute killer way to make salmon. It is super easy, and the food is unbelievably good. I would encourage you guys all to try it. But first, let's get to cooking. Let's get the salmon out, get it prepped, and get it on the grill. All right. This kind of waxed cardboard box reminds me when I used to work for my uncle who sold vegetables. You'd have tons, literally tons of vegetables that come in boxes like this. But let's see. Oh, it's a big boy. This is our salmon right here, nice and fresh. This is Ora King salmon. It's my absolute favorite salmon, but it'll work with any kind of salmon. I've tried it with other kinds. This, to be honest, is not my wife's favorite salmon. She prefers it to be a little drier than this. I love super juicy, super rich salmon. But whatever kind of salmon you like, this method will work, and it couldn't be any simpler. The prep work also couldn't be any simpler. This one already comes gutted. So if you need to gut your salmon, if you're buying a whole fish, that's really all you got to do. And then the only other thing you need to do is make sure that it sits upright on the grate. So when we put it on the grate, we want it to sit upright. Now you may have to put skewers in the bottom. This one is going to sit upright exactly as it is. Don't have to do anything else to it. But the goal is we want to make sure that one side doesn't cook faster than the other. So kind of the orientation that the salmon would be swimming in is the orientation I'm going to put it on the grill in. Now, you can season the inside if you want. What I found is that's not super effective. It's going to be easier to season this at the end. I'll show you how we do that later. I have this drum up to 350 degrees. I'm going to put this on. We're going to close it down and do nothing. It really is that simple. Our final temp that we're going for is 145 degrees. All that's in there is charcoal, but we'll talk more about that in a second after I put this on. Is this thing already scaled? I think they already scaled it. They already scaled it. What a bunch of studs. What a bunch of heroes. So you could cut fillets and you could pan sear these too. All right, here we go. Let's see how well it fits. May have to, oh no, it's right in the center, sitting perfectly upright. The tail is a little squished, but this is going to be great. This belly is going to get a little bit crispy, which I personally like. And then all of this that would turn into the fillets is going to be super, super, super juicy. I'm going to get this closed so it starts cooking. The total cook time on this is maybe 90 minutes, something like that. It's not too long, but I will time it this time to let you guys know, because at this point I don't really time it. It's just when it's done, I pull it off. I'm a huge, huge fan of this method. Definitely give it a shot. Let's close it up. So we're cooking this today on this Super55 drum. If you guys know Frank Cox, smoker builder, smokerplans.net, all that stuff. Frank actually brought me one of these, and if you're over on Patreon, you know exactly why he did. But this will work on a Kamado, like a big green egg, you know, anything that cooks relatively high heat without a ton of airflow. So in an offset smoker, I don't know that I'd recommend this, though it's something I'm gonna try in the future. But this is just so darn simple. It works so well, keeps everything super juicy. And I'm gonna ask Frank if there's maybe some kind of discount so we can offer that to you guys who are watching this if you wanna order one of these things. Because I have had a blast cooking on this. Actually, in probably the past 2 months, I've cooked on this more than any other pit that I have, just because it's so easy and I just wanted to see what it can do. Once you have the vent set and you have the temperature dialed in, it kind of does its thing for hours and hours at a time. I think you can probably go 12, 14 hours. I don't know exactly, but for a long time. So all we have to do, get the temperature that we want, put the salmon inside, close this up, and we'll check back in on it in about 45 minutes. Now, some notes. I'm using Fogo lump charcoal. I'm not using any wood because I don't think the salmon really needs smoke. What I want is maybe just like a faint hint that it was cooked with fire. But what I want is the texture, I want the juiciness, and I want the skin on the outside to be crispy. You're gonna see why that's important later. But I need this kind of cooking environment to make the salmon cook the way that I want to. Also of note, this is fish, and this is, going to get stuff inside the cooker. What I found works actually really well with this thing is after I cook salmon on it, I fill it up with charcoal, get it really hot, and all the fish smell is gone. I don't know that it would work that way in an offset or various other kinds of cookers, but with this, I don't get any of that weird salmon or fishy smell afterward after I kind of burn it out again. So, word of warning, I wouldn't do this in a cooker that you can't have smell like fish at all. Obviously, there's gonna be drippings in there. Just be aware of that. But the smell that comes out of this thing, if you're just standing around it, is absolutely incredible. It makes me hungry. I'm not somebody who typically loves fish. For me, I'm thinking, to complement fish, a lot of times you say, oh, it wasn't fishy at all, which tells me that people don't actually like fish. But with the salmon, I'm telling you, if you even remotely like salmon, you're gonna absolutely love doing it this way. It's my favorite way to eat salmon. It really doesn't have any equals, in my opinion. I didn't come up with this method, I just stole it, but I'm being honest about it. I hope you guys steal it from me and adopt it, because it is the #1 way, in my opinion, to cook this fish. So we're gonna check back in about 45 minutes. We'll take a look at the fish, check out some temperatures, and see how close we are. All right, guys, it's been just about an hour, and we've been rocking at 350 degrees the whole time. I think it's between 345 and 350 anytime I've checked it. So let's open it up, and then let's get a temperature. So I'm going for the thickest part in the center of the fish because that's gonna be the lowest temp. So you can temp, the tail or, right at the surface and get a higher temp. But what I'm looking for is the coolest part of the fish. I want it to be 145 degrees. I choose 145 because it's a texture thing for me. That's the texture that I like. You can go higher or lower if you want, but for me, it's the winning temperature. So let's take a peek. Smoky. I feel like we should have the mask. It's like smoky. All right, we'll go in. So it's gonna go down until we get closer to the other side, and then just go back up. So we're 118, 119. So we got 118 degrees, which means we're getting close. We're not quite there yet. My guess is probably about another 30 minutes or so, but we'll check back. And then after it's actually done cooking, that's when all the cool stuff happens. So I'm gonna close this up, let it keep cooking, and we're gonna start the next step in the process. Rock and roll. Once again, I'm using the Thermapen one. It gives readings so quickly. It's by far my favorite. If you haven't checked one out, go check it out. I'll put a link in the description. Also, an update for you guys. I talked to Frank, and he said that he's gonna send me an affiliate link that I can put in the description, and it's gonna give you a discount, I think 10% off if you're interested in one of these things. If you're not, totally fine, but if you are, you can get that discount, so check it out in the description. It's been a total cook time of about 90 minutes, I think 94 minutes now. I just checked the temperature. It's 151, so a little over what I wanted, so I'm gonna get it off right away, and I'm gonna set it over here on the chud table, and I'll show you what we do next. So it's easiest to remove the whole grate. Yes, it is hot. Warning, it is extremely hot. Oh. Let me set it down. Oh man, it smells so good. All right, while we're letting this rest for just a minute, usually I would do this before the fish is done cooking, so my fault, it finished up a little faster than I thought. I'm gonna make a sauce that we're gonna put on it. Now you might be confused as to exactly how we're gonna sauce it, but don't worry, we'll get there. First thing I'm gonna do is get the sauce going. One other note, after I take the salmon out, I open all the vents and let this thing run full blast, hopefully to burn any kind of residue out there, because when I notice that when I do that, then it doesn't smell like fish the next time I open the thing up. So no guarantees on that, it's just been my experience so far. So let's get the sauce going. First in, about a half stick of butter. I like Kerrygold butter. You can use salted or unsalted. Just keep in mind how much salt you have present in the sauce. It looks about like half. Drop it in. If it'll go. Now it's dropped in. Excellent. And then we have hot honey. Big fan of hot honey. I always use Mike's hot honey, which I couldn't find, but I found this instead. I'll put a link for Mike's hot honey because I've used that a bunch of times and really like it if you want to check that out. Basically, just imagine honey with a little kick of chilies. So it's not artificial tasting at all. It's not off-putting, but it's just really nice. I think I probably added somewhere around 6-8 ounces of the hot honey. If you don't like spicy, you can just use regular honey, totally fine. And then lastly, in order to make up for the fact that we haven't seasoned this fish at all to this point, you need to add some salt. You can just throw in some kosher salt, you can do whatever you want. I'm gonna be using some all-purpose seasoning here. And yes, that is Mad Scientist BBQ seasoning. Limited edition, one time only. We'll talk more about that some other time, but yeah. Let's just add some of this in. Not too much. And then I don't want anything to burn. So obviously right now it's not mixed together well, but we're just gonna make a cohesive sauce. And then we're gonna paint it on. It smells really good already. Oh, I smell the honey. Now for you unpasteurized honey purists out there, this sauce is not for you. But for people who just want a delicious sauce that they can put on their salmon, this sauce is definitely for you. Use any kind of seasoning you like, make sure you have enough salt. All right, now that our sauce is ready, I'm gonna show you how we're gonna deal with this fish. And you might be wondering, wait a second, you haven't cut these into fillets, you haven't talked about whether or not the fish is scaled, you haven't seasoned the fish. This seems so strange. I'm gonna tell you why. It doesn't matter. This is gonna be super simple, and the first time I saw it, I kicked myself because I hadn't thought of it sooner. But all we're gonna do is we're gonna start making a cut right here behind the gills. We're gonna go up to the top of the fish, down along the spine, and then we're gonna just peel all the skin back. So, all the way down. Crispy belly skin. At this point, the salmon smells incredible. It's super juicy. It's really tender. You can just pick it apart by hand. My mouth's watering. Okay, the only thing we need to make sure this is seasoned. I'm gonna get that sauce. We're gonna pour some of that sauce on. We're gonna paint it around, make sure it's all covered, and then we're gonna do our taste test. Oh man, that looks good. As my pappy used to say, you can't beat that with a stick right there. If you want to be less messy, which is reasonable, but also less fun, you can just paint the sauce on with a brush like this. I like these silicone brushes. I've been waiting all day for this. Oh my goodness. I don't have a fork, but as you will soon see, it doesn't really matter. This is so tender. I'm gonna pull a piece off. I'll let you guys take a look at it, take a gander. Be careful about how you grab this. You won't get any of those pin bones, but for me, this is absolute magic. See how juicy that is? See all that rendered fat in there? Then you got the sweetness and the saltiness from the sauce, and oh my goodness. This is peak fish right here. I don't care what anybody says, I don't care about Chilean sea bass, I don't care about tuna, whatever. This is peak fish, all right. Oh, it just melts. It's like disintegrates. Imagine like the most tender barbecue you've ever had in your entire life, 10 times more tender, and that's what that is. If you want it more firm, just cook it longer, take it to a higher temp. But for me, this is magic. Now, I want to try some of this belly. For you guys out there who know about the belly, it's freaking good. Let's try this. And you get a little bit of crispiness on the underside because this was facing the fire directly. And because of all that fat, it is still crazy juicy. We thickened up the sauce just right. I'm gonna dip it in a little bit of the extra sauce down here. Oh my goodness. Oh. Oh man. If food were a drug, it would be this. This would be the drug. Man, that is so good. Oh, man. All right, I'm gonna eat another piece of this belly. Another thing is that you can take this off carefully and you leave all of the bones behind. Still be careful, but it's kind of a neat way to use 100% of the fish, so that all you're left with when you're done is basically just the skeleton and some extra skin left over. So, bon appetit. Every time, every bite, you get actually just a little bit of smokiness, which is just right. Just a little smokiness. I didn't add any wood chunks. It was just straight charcoal. But you get a little smokiness. It could be from some of that fat dripping down and kind of burning. That gives it a little smokiness like it's been grilled, which is just super, super nice. I want to show you, look, virtually no waste. All we have here, pretty clean bones right there. And you have the juiciest, most tender salmon in the entire world. I mean, as I hold this, like it's dripping all this juice, and it is super, super incredible. I hope the camera can even do this 50% of the justice it deserves, but I mean, it is so, so, so good. World's juiciest salmon. And that's the whole process. It really couldn't be much easier. So we have the seasoning on the outside here, so every bite is gonna be well seasoned. And if you're wondering if there's any kind of trickery about how easy the skin comes off, no, not at all. Just like if you look at this, here's the backside, and we'll just, there comes all the skin, okay? It really is that easy, and it's really that delicious. Zero exaggeration here. It is my absolute favorite way to cook salmon. I highly recommend you guys get out there and try this. You're gonna be shocked at how easy it is, and you can experiment with different flavors. If you don't like the hot honey and butter, do whatever you want, but this is the peak of fish for me. The perfect tenderness, the perfect juiciness, everything I want in a piece of salmon is right here. If you guys like this video, hit the like button down below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more fun and informative barbecue content. You can also follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and X, not Twitter, at Mad Scientist BBQ. Leave me some comments in the comment section down below. Let me know what you want to see me cook next. See you guys next time.